Welcome to a bonus episode of the Savvy Shopkeeper Retail Podcast. I'm your host, Kathy Cruz. Well, today's bonus episode is all about the incredible Get Traffic conference that we just recently hosted in my hometown of Cleveland. I'm finally coming up for air, and I am ready to unpack so many things, from aha moments to some behind the scenes insights, some thank yous, and what this event taught me about myself as a leader too. Whether you attended or not, settle in because I have a lot to share. So I want to start by talking about Cleveland. Seeing Cleveland through your eyes, and when I say your eyes, I'm talking to the people that attended because I'm guessing they're probably podcast listeners. It was honestly the best unexpected benefit of this conference. So many of you explored the city and the surrounding area. I saw your posts, your comments, your reels, your stories, and I loved it. Your excitement reminded me not to take Cleveland for granted. And really, I have to say that Cleveland showed off a bit that weekend because we had decent weather. Not great weather, but it was decent weather. And I just kept thinking, if it can be 60 degrees and sunny, I would be ecstatic. And that's what we pretty much got. And I was here for it because I just really wanted a good experience in terms of the city for people that were attending the conference, and they got that, and it just made me so happy. So speaking of things I love, next I want to talk about Mamita, my mom. She made a surprise appearance on day one, and I have to give a special thanks to my boys, my husband and my bonus son Logan, for bringing her. The way you all embraced her and showed her so much love, and Logan too, because Logan was a surprise for me. I wasn't sure if he was going to stop in with Andy and my mom. So I just want to say thank you. The love you shared with them, it just really warmed my heart. And I have to add that on day two, during the conference, I was talking about Mamita's garden and that she lived close by to the venue. And someone asked for her address, just like saying well, we want to see her garden. And I ended up freely giving away her address out loud to the whole entire room. It was funny. Some of you showed up at her house that same day, and then a few more showed up the day after. It was hilarious and the cutest thing I've seen because you're taking selfies with her, you're taking pictures outside of her house. Some of you even met my brother, Ruben. I mean, the whole thing was amusing. I have to add that Kirsten, she attended the conference. She commented about Mamita's joyful, caring presence, and that really left an impression on me. Mamita's incredibly special to me, and seeing all of you dote on her was just the best. Thank you again for loving on her. All right, the next thing that I want to talk about is the event venue, Biography. I'll be honest, after hosting 2 events at Fruchthaven Farm, because it's beautiful and spacious, we were a little concerned about expectations. Our event was held at Biography, which is owned by my biz bestie, Maureen. She owns multiple event venues in Lakewood, Ohio, and you can check out her website. It is, I have to think about it, thecollabevents.com. Hopefully I got that right. Anyhow, it's a single room venue in a massive industrial building, and I don't know why we were so worried because the vibe was incredible. Thank you to Kristen, our event coordinator, and Maureen. So many of you mentioned how gorgeous the space was. I didn't realize it, but it's actually perfectly designed for intimate conversations, meaningful connections, and deep learning. How perfect is that? Something that I really didn't consider because I'm too busy doing all these other things. Maureen, thank you for creating such a welcoming space for us. Your hospitality and answering Jen's 100 questions about venues. It was above and beyond, and I'm so grateful for you. All right, next, let's talk about the Savvy Shopkeeper team because I certainly can't do this alone. Jacelyn, Kate, and Sam, they were all behind the scenes and in some ways contributed leading up to the event. So I just want to say thank you to them. Excuse me, this is what happens when I don't get an edited podcast episode. I just record and publish. The next person that I want to thank is Missy. She stepped in the biggest way. She designed the slide decks for all 8 presentations and the program workbook. And she did this right when I needed it most. And I'm so grateful. They were all beautifully branded and well done, and it saved me the embarrassment of sharing anything that I would have designed. I mean, it just would not have been pretty. So thank you to Missy, because all those slide decks looked incredible. And of course, pulling this off would have been impossible without Kristen. I wish I could articulate how she cares for this community as much as I do. The volume of work and the volume of conversations and emails that she handled leading up to this, simply incredible. I can't say enough about Kristen. Kristen also had some event during the event. Jen, she's a former Master Shopkeepers member and a retired store owner. She reached out to me to volunteer to help, and I ended up taking her up on the offer, and I'm so glad I did, because she was such a huge help, not just to me, but to Kristen and everyone who attended. So between her and Kristen, they were on top of things. They were caring not only for me, because it was constant, bringing me water to the front, the front of the room, making sure that I had coffee when I needed it, serving lunch, because I'm in between many presentations and lots of conversations. So I don't necessarily have time to stop and grab a plate of food. And they did all of that so lovingly for me and with a lot of grace. They helped hold down the fort. They managed all the moving pieces, set up, tear down, and they always did it with smiles and kindness. I'm just incredibly grateful. The next thing that I want to talk about is the Social Hour Instagram interview. This interview with Amanda Herring of La Petite Maison in Utah was an absolute hit. And I knew it would be good, but even I wasn't prepared for how incredibly engaged everyone would be in that room. The one special thing about these interviews at our in-person events is they are not recorded. So they feel very exclusive and more intimate because of it. Amanda shared so generously. She shared strategies, insights, honest reflections, all about her Instagram success, and it all resonated deeply with the people in that room. The questions, it was funny because they just kept coming in. So many people in the room were taking notes, and it was clear that she drew in a lot of attention. Amanda, thank you for staying well over an hour extra. Yes, the interview went, I think, over an hour beyond what we had scheduled. And she stuck around to make sure that everyone had their questions answered. Amanda, you truly blew us away, and the survey responses confirmed how valuable this session was. I'm so happy you agreed to do that with me. Speaking of survey responses, I want to share a bit about the feedback that we received, and we received a lot. And overall, my husband usually asks me after I read the surveys, surveys can be really scary. If you ever do a customer survey, you know how that feels. And I actually chose not to read the surveys that night because I was just too tired and I needed to have, more energy to read those. So I chose to read them the next day. And Maureen is so sweet. She stuck around with me at the Airbnb, and she actually helps me process and take notes about what I can do better next time. And my husband asked, what did you think about the surveys? Did you hear anything that you needed to change? And overall, I have to say they were pretty good. We're always learning when we host these in-person events, and I'm hoping that we're just getting better at them. But please, if ever I do a survey, whether it's for Master Shopkeepers, through Savvy Shopkeeper, for our conference events, I do genuinely want to hear from you. So let me just highlight a few things. The educational favorites. So aside from Amanda's Instagram interview, the Google presentation and the ChatGPT sessions stood out as incredibly helpful. You said it was clear, actionable, and immediately useful. Many of you mentioned leaving with specific to-do lists, and you were excited to implement new strategies. So I love that. In my mind, I thought the Google session would be the least favorite. So it's just so funny how our minds work, But it was definitely in the top 3, and I'm happy about it. It's probably, when I say it, I'm referring to Google. Google is probably one of the most underutilized tools for store owners, and I think you all saw that. So I'm happy that that's what you took away from it. Number two is networking. I mean, I don't even know how to describe this. The connections you all made, whether during the social hour, in between breaks, during lunch, or during the social hour event, like I said, because we also do a happy hour event with hot appetizers and cocktails and mocktails. So there's a lot of time for people to chat and connect. These were all repeatedly mentioned as the heart of the event, and it's no surprise because this community, it thrives on genuine relationships. The last thing that I want to mention are some of your biggest personal takeaways. So it was intentional scheduling. You want to improve this, simplifying your strategies, meaning you want to focus on what works instead of trying to do all the things. You want to leverage existing tools and new tools. And for sure, the biggest one was knowing your data, using data to make decisions. Those were all common themes. You all left feeling inspired but grounded in clear next steps. And again, that makes my heart so happy. You see a recurring theme here. The next thing that I want to talk about was the event tagline. And I chose the tagline, Connect, Engage, Convert. And although this was more about marketing, this just overall the conference was, this is exactly what happened during the conference. You connected deeply with each other. You learned new ways to engage authentically with your customers. And now you have strategies to convert those connections into genuine growth for your stores. And that was incredibly important to me. So it's interesting because sometimes I come up with these taglines and these ideas, and I came up with the framework for the 8 presentations. And I jot a lot down on like a Trello board or in Google Docs, and I write them down, and I'm not sure how it's all going to tie in together. But in the end, all 8 presentations flowed into this perfect little framework. The tagline worked really nicely with everything that I did. So I don't know how my brain does it, but it just kind of happens naturally. And I always say, I genuinely try to listen to all of you. Again, surveys, comments, engagement in Master Shopkeepers, feedback that I get, emails that I receive. You know, the reason why I hosted this conference to begin with on Get Traffic, again, focusing on marketing, was because the last survey I conducted, the number one pain point was cash flow, and I'm hosting Cash Flow Clarity in Master Shopkeepers. And if you're not in Master Shopkeepers, I want to share that there's something coming soon for the rest of you. If you want to participate in a version of Cash Flow Clarity. And the second pain point for so many of you was foot traffic. So of course, marketing, I'm going to focus on both foot traffic and online traffic. And that was the focus of every single session at that conference. So I have to wrap this up soon. What I learned about myself as a leader. This is like real talk time. Planning in-person events, it's a massive weight to carry. It's just a lot of responsibility. It is a huge budget. There are a lot of vendors involved, payments involved. I've always known event planning was hard, at least for me. Thank goodness for Kristen. So even having her, it's still hard for me. But this year it showed me clearly that I have room to grow here as a leader. I have to learn how to carry this weight better. Because part of it is I become such a mama bear when I see people traveling from all across the US, from California to New England and then Florida and everywhere in between. I add this like extra pressure on myself, and I feel like I want to make sure everyone gets in safely. They aren't stuck in traffic. They know about the marathon that's happening Sunday morning, and I need to get them to the venue at the right time. All these little details that most people wouldn't even think about. So I have to remind myself that when I go to a conference, no one ever does that for me. You know, it's just an unreasonable expectation that I put on myself. We're all adults. We all run our own businesses. And we're responsible for those parts of, attending something in person. And yes, I can care, but I just kind of have to like lessen that burden that I put on myself. And that's okay. I'm still doing the best that I can to create a beautiful experience for everyone that goes. And that's just like one part of that heavy weight that I feel in my brain. I also realize being more involved in certain decisions earlier, I think that's the key, is going to be helpful to me. I have a tendency to delegate and step back. This is funny. Like, I always talk about delegation, right? There's 3 phases, and I don't think I've done a podcast episode on this yet, but I will. And it's definitely going to come up in the book that I'm writing. But there's 3 phases of leadership when you're running a micro independent retail business. And the first one is delegation. Well, I'm great at delegation. I think almost too good at it in this instance. And I have a tendency to like delegate and then step back. So thinking I'm helping my own overwhelm, but I need to take some ownership. The balance between delegating and stepping in at the right moments to make some of the decisions that need to be made is something that I'm going to commit to, and I need to get better at it. I'm going to commit to mastering it, I guess. Mastering. I don't know if I'll master it, but I am going to get better at it. The other thing that I want to mention is that I tend to say this every single time I'm about to host a big in-person event. I say this out loud all the time. Ask my husband. I'm never doing this again. Is literally, those are the words that come out of my mouth. You're going to see I have to laugh at myself because there's just so much mental drama. Well, I have to say that this quickly shifted by the end of this conference. In all honesty, by the time I saw everyone connecting, laughing, learning, feeling inspired, my inner voice immediately changed to, I have to do this again. The impact is just too significant. The community is too special, and the growth is too obvious not to continue. So yes, despite the chaos in my mind, because the mental drama is real, in-person events will absolutely continue. They matter too much not to. With that, I need to be more cognizant of my own schedule, especially regarding like the content, because I often teach the majority of the sessions, or in this case, all of the sessions. And I just have to be a little bit more cognizant of my schedule and planning those out more in advance. Really, that wasn't as big of a deal as some of the other things. I know I can manage that better. I just can't let things pile onto my plate in those like 3 or 4 crucial weeks leading up to the conference. It's not sustainable, and it puts unnecessary workload on the team and myself. So I'm going to be strategic about it. I want to add that I don't share this with any of you, especially for those of you that attended, for any other reason other than I always want to be transparent about being a business owner. Like, you can see the beautiful pictures, and we have this gorgeous group picture from the conference. You can see it on my Instagram feed. You can see all the beautiful pictures and all the beautiful reels and all the fun and the gorgeous florals and the gifts being, given away and all the things. And yeah, it was all incredible. But this, like these parts of it, this is the truth of some of what happens behind the scenes. And I want you to know this too. I just don't want you to see the beautiful pictures and videos and reels on Instagram. I want you to know that this isn't always easy for me either, because that's the truth. Otherwise, I feel like I'm deceiving you. I'm just telling you, oh yeah, this is great. This is so easy. And we all know that's not the case in business. So before wrapping up, I want to share some of the beautiful words that were shared with me after the event. Someone said, my mind is still buzzing and my heart feels full. Shout out to the loveliest ladies, the best hotel buddies the shopkeeper could have asked for. So you see here that she's not talking about the Savvy Shopkeeper team, although I'm sure she appreciated the team. She's talking about the other store owners that she connected with and met at the event. Someone else referred to our community as the kindest, most generous, creative, inspirational, and yes, crazy humans. People who dream big dreams and actually do the work. She really nailed exactly why we gather together. Someone else noted Amanda's session and said it was incredibly valuable and special. And I want to add that too. I can confirm, yes, it was packed with value, but it was also very special. Someone else said that they reflected on Cleveland's like peaceful beauty, and she captured exactly how so many of us felt, saying how lovely it was to like unwind by the lake after such a vibrant weekend. And then someone else summed it up by saying, I had no idea it was Monday until I saw this post. I mean, I knew, but didn't know. This conference was practically perfect in every way. Comments like these remind me why the stress, the planning, and the heavy load, again, are worth it. One moment from the weekend that stood out profoundly was at the end of the conference when I shared a short video tribute to April Peterson. She was a founding member of Master Shopkeepers. I have talked about her many times on this podcast. I interviewed her early on this podcast, and she passed away suddenly a couple years ago. She impacted our community deeply. So many tears, including me, flowed in that room. Luckily, this time I remembered to place tissue boxes on many of the tables in the conference. It was one of the most emotional moments, one I'll never forget, and I'm so thankful that we shared it together. My message to everyone in the room at the end of the conference after I played this video memorial, it was to conquer what they learned, go for big goals, and do what their heart truly desires, regardless of fear. That's one thing April taught me, and why the message was so important for me to convey. It was to be fearless, and in her words, in April's words, because she's the reason why I say be savvy and boss up at the end of every episode. So it was to be fearless and to boss up. Whew, trying to keep it together. At the end of the day, these conferences aren't just about education. I think it's really clear. They're about connection, validation, not feeling lonely, and belonging. Being an independent retailer can sometimes feel isolating. I know, I remember what that feels like. But when we gather together, it's magic. It recharges us. It recharges me. It inspires us, and it reminds us we're never truly alone. There are many others involved that I've probably forgotten to mention. So many vendors and so many details, and it's not because I don't want to thank you. I need you to know that I truly am grateful. Probably just don't have enough time for all of it in a bonus episode. I will be publishing a podcast episode about the door prizes that were given away, because I think we gave away $7,000 in prizes. And I want to make sure that I talk about these tools so that you all know about these helpful resources too. I spent a lot of time researching and having conversations and making sure that the door prizes we gave away were a good fit for the people in that room. So you can watch for that episode soon. I think we're going to publish that within like the next 2 weeks or so. All right, it's time to wrap this up. I cannot thank you all enough for those of you that attended, for fully showing up, at moments being vulnerable, for your eagerness to share and learn, and for trusting this community to hold you in those moments. You inspire me every single day. You really do. It's why I wake up so excited to do what I do. It's an honor to create spaces where your businesses and your souls can grow. If you didn't attend, I hope you feel the energy. I really do. I hope you feel the energy and the excitement from this recap, and that you join us next time. Yes, Kristen, I said next time. The whole time during the conference, Kristen kept saying, next time we do this, next time we do this. And I kept looking at her like she was crazy. But I'm saying it. Next time we do this. Until the next episode, be savvy and boss up.